Flint's News Talk 1470 WFNT. Dan Foley here with you, and now we have the reclusive Mr. O. Sir, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. So I just spoke for a little bit with Deborah Bonner, and she shared her story just to give people an idea of what it is that was kind of behind her motivation. Obviously, she wants to help Flint. She talked to you about it. And we talked with Art as well. Art came in originally, and I was curious how he got to know you, and he mentioned Deborah Bonner, so we talked with her a little bit. And Art's in the studio with us as well.
Good
Hello,
morning,
Art.
sir.
How you doing there?
Doing fine. Thank you for calling in, and let's get going.
There we go. So Mr. O, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm working toward 80 years old now. I've been fairly successful in life. I've been able to acquire a tremendous amount of assets. In my late years now, I'm interested in helping people when I can, obviously. And again, I'm a recluse, and so I'm very careful how I go about it. Over the years, the 13 standards, by the way, did you get my email last night, sir?
I did. Thank you.
Okay, with the 13 standards of knowledge, what that boils down to is simply that everything that occurred in my life that caused me to acquire the assets I now have, I kind of condensed it, and I standardized it. I ended up with 13 standards of knowledge, of which I teach now as a consultant to many people. And so I don't like to get deep into my past and stuff like that because, I am a recluse, but
what does that mean?
Well, that means that I'm a recluse. I'm a very private individual. I'm here to help if I can. I'm here to help Flint. I think one thing would be good. People can learn a lot about me. If you have questions about the standards of knowledge, about how they work, what I do, what I can accomplish, what my motives are.
How would you do a reality show? I mean, just as a recluse, I mean, you're also kind of a public person. We talked a little bit yesterday, and you've done a radio show in the past, and I know one of the things, and Deborah mentioned this as well, and Art also about a potential reality show. Is that something that you would be involved in also?
Yes, I will own the reality show. It used to be called Success Challenge USA. That will probably change. You've heard of Charlie's Angels, the TV show, and
sure.
You've heard of Magnum P.I., and you remember Dallas, the TV show, Who Shot J.R., this type of thing.
Right.
I just simply intend to stay in the background. I have no need for any funds from Flint to make any money or anything like that. I have no need for any personal recognition. I'm way past that in my years. That doesn't matter to me. Success of other people does matter to me. The reality show, the essence of the reality show is quite simply, it'll run from the 13 standards of knowledge. And what my first goal was to find a city that was in bankruptcy and take the entire city out of bankruptcy. And then I met Deborah Bonner, which was a blessing to me, to tell you the truth. She's just a wonderful lady.
Yeah.
And so I committed to her. I'm not a real religious person, but she was talking about some praying, and we talked to some preachers there and stuff like that in Flint, and they seemed to think that maybe someone was using me. I have no idea. Again, I'm not a religious guy. But
let me ask you this. I mean, you're pushing 80 years old. This will be a lot of work on your part as well. How much of your own money do you intend to invest in the city of Flint?
Well, it's hard to say. Again, when I make an investment or if I give money, it's totally anonymous. However, let me say this, that from scratch, one of the things I teach my clients and I teach people is that if there's a good cause and the people have the right attitude and they want to make something happen, raising money is a simple thing to do. And one of the things I teach people is to try to use other people's money and try to make things happen on their own. So probably the best gift I could give anybody in Flint or any organization is to work with them directly and cause them to end up, if they have a goal of $100 million or whatever that goal is to cause them to reach it. It's more important, I think. The old Chinese
teach a man to fish.
To teach someone to fish,
not give him a fish.
That's it. And
it's in the Bible too.
At the end of the day, if an organization ends up, if their goal is to have, a couple $100,000 and they end up with it, as long as it doesn't come from the mafia, I think they're going to be happy.
Yeah.
They're going to be much happier if someone can step up to the plate and show them how to organize themselves, how to reach out to people, and how to cause it to occur. I've found in the past I've had some bad experiences in giving money, large amounts of money, but who knows, that may occur. My goal is,
what if the goal is
as long as people respect my anonymity, my goal is to help Flint whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way.
Well, because I mean, I get that. I mean, there have been people raising money for Flint for a long time, and $1 billion would go a long way, right? $1 billion would get. We need. So we just had a study done. I don't know if you know anything about Flint, the situation with the water. You may have heard. I mean, it was national.
Bit, yes.
So the water. So we've got a completely. Our infrastructure is horrible, and it's like this for a lot of towns in Flint. And it would be. I think it would be impressive to get that completely fixed. We just switched over to a new water source, and we need a water treatment plant. And the plant wasn't run correctly, and that's what led to the leaching of lead into pipes, and we had a huge problem with this. And so we did a study, and the company said that we're about 2 years out from having our own water treatment plant up and running, which they ran it anyway. It wasn't ready to go. They need about $195 million to get that plant ready to go. And I'm just wondering, somebody in your situation, why wouldn't you just write a check to have something like that done?
Well, again, something that's very important to people and something that's important to me in teaching people. I take what I do very seriously in teaching these standards of knowledge, and even in private companies. Oh, by the way, let me say this in the middle of my sentence. I would be happy to take on a goal to raise $1 billion for Flint. I'll say that right now, and we'll find out if I'm for real or not, or if I can make that happen. But getting back to my teaching, and these are fair questions that you're asking. Mm-hmm. In business, in general, and in nonprofit corporations, in cities, and everywhere, when people just depend on other people, it's pretty tough on them, and they keep doing that, and they never get anywhere. Mm-hmm. Again, if the money can come, and it can come through a process of people learning how to make it come themselves, how to create it, how to create the necessary process to be able to raise it, and even more, and to be effective at it, then they wouldn't have near the problems.
So how would that? But how would that work? Because one of the things that you said, and it makes sense, is you like to work with other people's money. So, but if everybody's doing that, obviously you don't end up with any money. So how do you do the fundraising?
Well, it just depends. If there's a general, if you ask me specifically, for example, let's suppose there was a committee and they and their goal was this $195 million or whatever for Flint. I would imagine that we could probably do something nationally or maybe internationally to make that happen.
And what?
Probably something nationally. You just need to be extremely creative. You need to do it in a way where people get excited, people get motivated, and not just because, well, I want to go there and help Flint solve their water problem, but there's a lot of other nuances that could be thrown in the fire.
Have you done any? I mean, part of it too will depend on who you work with, who your associates are, and so forth. Do you vet the people that you work with? I mean, did you know anything about Deborah Bonner before you spoke with her?
No, I did not. There was a guy named Donnell Brox, and I sent you his phone number if you ever want to talk to him.
Okay.
He's a client of mine. He owns a dental clinic, and I work with several doctors through him. And Deborah Bonner is a personal friend of Donnell's. In fact, her family used to live with him years ago. Mm-hmm. They're all Mormons. He's a white family, and they're a black family, and they together, I think they had 14 kids living in the same house.
Oh, wow.
many years ago.
But do you? I mean, have you? She said that she met you about 2 weeks ago. Is that correct?
Yeah, just not too long ago. That's correct.
What about Art?
And the thing is this, sometimes you can read people. Number 6, if you look on the 13 standards, it's the ability to read people. And Deborah Bonner is just a good person.
I think so, too.
As we go down the road, I talked to her and I said, listen, Deborah, when we do this in Flint, one of the things that's really important, because I don't know you, you don't know me, and the people don't know you, is that whatever funds are raised are put into responsible hands in Flint.
Like whose hands?
But in Flint.
Whose hands would they be?
I don't know. I haven't determined that yet. I've talked to several people in Flint, and as this situation manifests, if people come out of the woodwork and they say, I find that there's a committee, a good responsible committee, I will take a consensus of people and I will, vet the person myself. And also, one of the things I've already done, I don't want to mention who it is, but I've spoken to a few judges in town. One of the things I want to do is I want to get the help of the district attorney's office and a promise that if anybody misuses money, that they will prosecute. I want to make that public.
But who represents who represents here locally? Is Mr. Wenzloff? Is he your representative here in Flint?
I'm sorry.
Is Art Wenzloff your representative here in Flint?
Mr. Wenzloff, I met through Deborah Bonner. He seems like a great guy.
He's a great guy.
He's interested in helping Flint, and so we've talked for a period of time. Understand this.
He's come to me because he came to me. He's the first person that I talked to. This is how I came to know you. Is that he came into the office and he said that he had an opportunity for the station to make some money, and of course, we're for-profit radio. So I said, by golly, that's what we do. And so I sat down and I talked with him for a little bit, and I talked with him on the phone, and I wasn't clear how exactly, what this had to do with us or what it had to do with the city of Flint. So he suggested that I talk to you, which obviously we did yesterday, and I'm still not clear. How all this works. Did you vet him? How did he become your representative so that he's talking to radio stations and TV stations about this project?
Well, again, Mr. Wenzloff has a pretty good reputation there in town. There isn't anybody in the world that doesn't have some kind of a problem. I could find a problem about you, about your station, or about anybody.
Sure.
And I don't know if he has problems or not, but I do know this. At this early stage, I haven't given him a check for $1 million. At this early stage, he is not in charge of anything. He's just a great guy. Mm-hmm. I read him. I believe he'll be able to do well, and for what he's doing at this point in time is great. And I'm looking at it like I would like to see him on the payroll, to tell you the truth, and I would like to see him do a lot because he's got a tremendous attitude. He's extremely intelligent.
Tremendous attitude.
And he wants to make things happen. Let me tell you something about vetting real quick, if I may.
Yeah.
Most of the people in the United States vetted Enron a while back.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Skilling and everybody else. They checked them out from front to back. They thought they were the greatest people in the world, and they invested all their fortune in it, and everybody lost their fanny because they turned out being crooks.
Yeah.
So this vetting process isn't what it's cooked up to be. For example, if people want to vet me...
Hold on just a second, and we can't vet you because you're anonymous. I got an email from you that said its email address is mr.o.recluse, and I won't give the rest of it. But when you see that, and I mean, it's kind of strange, isn't it?
It's strange to me too.
Yeah,
but I love it.
Well, it's intriguing. I've got to say, it's very intriguing, and I was excited to talk to you because it is. So the other thing too, when I talked to you yesterday, and Art had called you, and he handed the phone to me, and it said Ron Campbell, and I was confused by that because he said Mr. O. Ron Campbell was an associate of yours?
Ron Campbell's been dead for some 15 years.
How come he's still on your phone?
Yes.
How come your phone comes up as Ron Campbell if he's dead 15 years?
Oh, that's because I was a partner with Ron Campbell in a CPA firm, and we had that phone number, and we've just kept it all the years.
15
call
years.
Warren Buffett and ask him why he still uses Berkshire Hathaway. He bought Berkshire Hathaway. It failed. He kept the name because he didn't want to set up a new corporation and spend a few $100 to do it.
Is it the same provider and everything for 15 years you've had that... That must have been one of those big
suitcases. Different providers. They got a law here in Nevada. I don't know how it works out there. You can keep the same phone number and change.
Yeah.
And here's something else I want to mention, too. And
yeah.
I don't blame you or anybody else in the media. They're going to want to do as much checking or vetting as I can. I will be glad to help Flint and be there as long as people respect my anonymity. Now, if I break a law, I should be found out and prosecuted. If I don't, I should be left alone. People should be excited enough that if I can make something happen in Flint and raise this $1 billion or whatever you're talking about, that should be enough. Now, the intriguing part about the Mr. O, that's why I mentioned Charlie Angels. That's why people watch the reality show. Yeah. I may come out of the woodwork after that. I don't know. I doubt it, but I may. I wasn't skirting it, but you asked a question a few minutes ago about making the radio station some money. Would you like to hear how that's going to happen, or do you want to do it privately?
No, not really. No, I mean, we're in Flint. This is something, I've talked to Dr. Edwards multiple times on the station. He's the guy that broke the story about the water situation. This is we live here. This is something that we care about. So, that's why I would be interested in it as well. And frankly, sure. I mean, I'm skeptical. I mean, this all sounds incredibly strange and unbelievable.
Sure, and that's good that you are, and everybody should be. As a matter of fact, with the clients I have on a constant basis, I tell them,
for example,
do not trust me.
Name a client. Name a client for me.
Trust yourself and learn to trust how you make judgments.
Who's a client
at some point in time, Flint, what will occur is I will have a group of people who will question me in depth about the standards of knowledge. When they realize how effective they are and how they work, all of that skepticism will disappear.
What are the standards of knowledge?
Standards of knowledge? Well, number one, you have them in front of you. I'll go through them real quick. But
yeah.
What I do is I teach people to find the potential of their mind, and that's our number one. Number two is to discover their hidden abilities. I teach them how to master self-confidence. I teach them how to control their motivation. I teach them the art of persuasion. I teach them, our number six is actually knowledge of others' thoughts and motives. I know that sounds a little hokey, but if you learn to read people, if you learn to talk to people, have a gregarious conversation, and they give you information about themselves, if you're effective at it, it's the same difference in reading their mind. It's very powerful. Mm-hmm. Number seven is powerful in creative concept development, to either create a concept or write out of thin air and make something happen, or to take something that's there and make it work good. Number eight is no fear of negatives. I teach people that you want to find the toughest negative you can, and if you can turn that into a positive, you've got it made. You cannot give me a negative that I cannot find a positive about. Number nine is a tremendous power lurking in you. Each one of us has a power in us, and we need to learn how to manifest that and make it work. And then, of course, number 10 is to become the top in your field, a magnet or a magnate. And our number 11 is the mechanics of the power of thought of your thought process. You know, there's mental gymnastics and mental mechanics. And mental gymnastics is when we think of an idea and a concept. The mental mechanic is when we actually put it into work and it makes us money and it works. That's important. Number 12 is reinventing yourself. People need to reinvent themselves if they want to come out as a particular individual. There's a lot to reinventing themselves. That's important. And number 13 is the team, building a team of people to make things happen. Mm-hmm. So those are the standards. Sure,
that makes perfect sense. I mean, obviously, the devil's in the details. It's how these things get applied. I mean, as they stand, I mean, everything is application, so it depends on how you go about doing that. Do people pay you to kind of learn how to apply these things? Do you as a consultant? Is that you base yourself on the 13 standards?
Yes, they make a deposit of $10,000 and they pay me $1,000 an hour.
So the deposit of $10,000 and $1,000 an hour. So you're not Art Wensleff is not going to pay you this money, is he? You're not talking to him about.
Nobody in Flint is. As a matter of fact, I think it's in the email. I'm not sure. In the state of Nevada, the Mr. O's Standards of Knowledge is part of continuing education for the nurses and people in hospitals and all this kind of stuff. Oh, and Dr. Lamprecht, and feel free to get him on the air. You've got his phone number there.
Yep.
He has checked with Michigan, and those credits are also acceptable there. So anybody that's in nursing that has to have continuing education, they can take the Standards of Knowledge and get that. And what I've done is 100% of any money that would ever come to me from Flint would go right back to Deborah Bonner's.
So she'll be in charge of it. She'd oversee the money.
Just of that. Of everything else there, I've recommended. She and I have had a talk about it. We both agree that there should be several projects. I hope there's several projects there. I intend to spend whatever time is necessary, sir, there in Flint, or from here to Flint.
So you'll raise some money. And
people will have charge of the money. It should stay right in Flint. It should be governed by the people there, and I shouldn't make a penny ever from it.
So, but you may raise some money, but whatever money you make from Flint then goes back to her to use for her projects to help Flint.
Yes.
Say you were to do a radio show here, and you ended up with clients as a result of.
Else. In fact, I would take your guidance and people in the media to help suggest the right people to put the money in the hands of, set up the right accounts and stuff. But that will go to Flint and stay in Flint. It will not go with Deborah Bonner and then given back to Flint. It will stay right there.
Listen, I appreciate your time, sir. I'm running real tight, but I sure appreciate you taking time to talk with us.
Thank you very much for the courtesy, sir. Anytime, I'll be glad to.